topic of funding, I feel like that's really something that not very many people get to see, like through the looking glass,
behind the curtain.
And you're probably one of the only people I know that has kind of given me that perspective. So for anyone else listening, what would you say is a common myth or assumption about getting funding and all of its glamour that you've kind of debunked and gone, this is the reality compared to what you think you're seeing?
Yeah. So, I mean, specifically venture capital financing, which I'll talk about. Like, there's a lot of charts about this that show like every business in the world and then the number that get VC financing. And that's very accurate. Like, not a lot of companies take VC funding. Not a lot should. Probably the number one misconception is that it's like cheap or free, which is like, oh my God, Zach, these guys gave your company $1 million and you didn't have to do anything. They just gave you $1 million. VC funding is, if you succeed, this is the one caveat. If you succeed, it's the most expensive type of financing. Let's say I put $1 million into your company at a $4 million valuation. So after my $1 million, a post-money valuation of $5 million, now I own 20% of your company. If you grow that the value of that company from $5 million to $50 million, the effective interest you're paying on that, 20% that you gave away for $1 million is far more than like any interest that you would pay on a loan. It's and let's say you sell the company for $50 million and the existing investor will be diluted. But for simple purposes, let's say I still own 20% of your company. So I get $10 million. You can calculate the interest rate to turn $1 million into $10 million over,
you're selling your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's more like you can compare this to other sources of financing, right? You can compare this to bootstrapping and growing off your own revenue, which is the lowest cost of capital. You can compare this to debt, like taking out a loan from the bank. And what you'll find is that the debt is a lot cheaper. But you can get venture capital when you cannot get debt. And then the other thing is it's like, every great company got turned down like 100 times, and every bad company got turned down 100 times. Like, the only difference between a good company and a great company is like on the 101st pitch, like the guys who made it happen got a yes, and on the 101st pitch, the guys who ultimately failed didn't get a yes. But there's nobody who goes out and has a deck and has an idea and raises money. I can't tell you how many venture capitalists I've met with because I can't remember anymore, but it's well over 100. And we're still at like the seed stage, right? Or the, Series A stage.
What Charge Lab is valued at right now?
You can ask anything you want.
Are you allowed to talk about that?
I can't tell, but
how about this? Could you tell us what it was valued at when you first raised?
Yeah, so the first financing round we did was at $3 million US post-money valuation.
And that was how long ago?
That was in 2019.
In 2019. Okay, cool.
And now it's worth substantially more, the guys who got in at $3 million, if I had taken a loan instead of taking their money, the loan would have been way cheaper, but no bank would have given me a loan because
you have to pay it back over time too, right?
It's still would have been cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, but you need the cash. You need cash to repay that loan. And if you can't repay the loan, then you default and then they take everything from you. Whereas the investors, they're just along for the ride. They don't have a choice. You're like, oh, you want your money back? Sorry, I have none. You better wait till we sell or burn.
And I think the other misconception is kind of actually something you said of like, oh, you just have an idea and there's nothing, to show for it. I know you didn't mean that in a resentful way. But if I could do it all over again, I would have gotten more sales before we raised money, right? There was a way that we could have gone out and sold more and went to the investors and said, hey, here's what we've sold so far. And it's possible that then, it wouldn't have changed that much, but maybe we could have had a $5 million valuation.
Or given away less. Yeah.
Yeah. Or given away less or raised more money. And so, sales is as big a topic in startups as it is in any other company, right? It works a little bit differently. There's different things that makes it tick. But Airbnb, Uber, Salesforce, all of these companies have massive sales teams, and they're very well organized and very well staffed because, everybody knows that the day is going to come when the markets or the investors come knocking and they want their returns. So, while you do raise venture capital to build a highly differentiated technology, generally speaking, you also raise it to do sales. And our current round of financing that we're doing, probably over half of the money we're going to spend is going to be on marketing and sales. So we're going to continue to invest tons and tons of resources into building technology, hoping that it'll pay off and pay dividends in the long run. But we're also going to invest in sales, hoping that it'll pay off within 12 to 24 months.
Wow. You had mentioned earlier, like not all companies should get venture financing. And I mean, I feel like everybody, we know that to be true. And like, I'm just wondering if you can go more in depth on in detail, like what do you think is like that line, like what means you should and what means like you definitely shouldn't kind of thing? Where's that line? Because I know there's like tech startups that like are definitely need it to like scale up, and then there's like businesses like ours that like definitely don't need it. And I'm sure there's like kind of some gray area in the middle where it's like maybe not,
Yeah, and honestly, like Charge Lab raised money too soon. Okay. And so I was in that position of being somebody who shouldn't raise money, but tried anyways, because I had an idea. Because at the time we were just a distributor of EV chargers, and I had this vision that we could turn it into a software platform. But you know what? If I was really resourceful, we could have built, V1 of that software platform, and then gone and raised money. Well, I mean, we had an MVP when we raised it, but I think that almost like. You can characterize these things, but it's really hard to tell when you're in it, right? So I don't know. I'm going to invent this framework on the spot, and maybe it'll be completely valid, or maybe it won't. But I would almost
say,
go
viral.
We're going to trademark
genius.
Cut it up into little
and then you guys can be above the Tim Ferriss show on podcasts.
There you go.
You guys viral. I think that almost if I were starting a business from scratch in the tech industry or in any other industry, I would almost build a business plan where I'm not raising any capital, where I'm doing all the sales until we can hire someone else. And then, we're building more of the product, doing more sales. And I would actually wait until someone outside my company said, pardon my French, holy shit, you guys need to raise money. Because your life will be a lot easier in that position. Everybody and their mom, figuratively or literally, are raising money for their startups now. So venture capitalists see a lot of pitches, and most of the pitches are not ready to take on money. And most of the people don't have a very good view of where they stand in the marketplace and what they're lacking. And so you can do incubator programs and accelerator programs and get ready and refine your pitch. Like, this is a pretty good idea too, if you can go to an incubator accelerator program. But the other thing I would say is just put your head down, build a sustainable business that you're going to be happy running. And when somebody, and occasionally go, to a pitch competition or something. And when someone says like, you guys need to raise money, that's when you do it, because you're going to it's going to be a much easier process. You're going to have better terms. And I mean, there's very interesting stories, and I can't think of any of those off the top of my head, but there are businesses that were, literally normal small to medium businesses for like 10 or 20 years. And then something in the market changed, and they became a super fast, scalable, tech company. Right. And so I think, patience and that. I mean, nobody's going to follow this advice. Everybody's going to start pitching for VC funding like all the time.
As quickly as possible. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. This is Patrick. Just checking in quickly after the episode to say thank you so much for listening or watching. We really appreciate it. We've got some super cool interviews lined up in the near future. We're very excited about them, and we think they're going to bring a lot of value to a lot of people. So make sure that you subscribe on your platform of choice. We are officially available on all major podcasting platforms and on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe there and stay tuned for more. We'll see you next time.